Hey, hey.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going. Oh, my goodness. I'm outside, so I'm at my parents' house. They don't have Wi Fi. They're like the last few
Oh,
people in the world that don't have Wi Fi. So I'm not going to turn my camera on, but I don't want it to take
that's
away
right.
from the service.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Great,
We're
great,
good.
great, great,
Good.
great. Thanks for joining me, guys, gals.
Of course. It's been a long while since I've been on a TikTok live with other people, and totally forgot how to set up my thing to be a guest. I like being in my little hidey hole.
I don't blame you. All right, I guess we'll jump into this thing. Thanks for coming. Hello, my fellow conspirators, and welcome to the interview section of Redacted Tales. I do it on TikTok Live when I can. Sometimes the authors don't have it, so I tend to go on Zoom. But we are talking about Shae's story, Eclipse, and we're talking about your narration of it. Thank you very much for doing that. It came out fantastic.
Oh, yay. I'm so happy. I didn't realize, Shay, that you wrote it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. And then he told me you were narrating. I was so excited.
It makes me so happy to hear that you enjoyed it and you liked the narrations. Thank you so much.
It was so good. Thank you.
Oh, it was I have a soft spot in my heart for horror because I was reading that primarily before I got into narration. It's I love horror. I just don't get to I just don't get a lot of it. So it's really fun. Thank you so much.
Uh, yeah, I'm really happy with that how it came out, and it's going to be coming out on June 1st. So, you know, post it on the socials, let people know it's coming. Um, let's introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. Shay, you go ahead and start.
Yep. My name is Shae Smith. I'm an indie author here on TikTok. I'm an author of a sci-fi fantasy anthology series and my upcoming novel, Sour, which is a romantic thriller. I also have a children's book, Must Have Been a Ghost. Dabble around in a little bit of everything. That's outside of writing. I'm a wife and a mother, and I have two boys, and it keeps me on my toes 24/7. I homeschool, and I'm a stay-at-home mom. I do have a bachelor's in social work, but I've always wanted to be a writer. So once I got the chance to homeschool the kids, I thought, hey, any of spare time that I do get, I'm going to write. And I've been on Book Talk for about 3 years, and now I do my impromptu interview show at co-host with Clint Baker, and we interview indie authors and narrators, and that's a good time. So just love being a part of this community, and yeah, that's about where I'm at.
Go ahead. I'll go last. Nobody cares about me.
Oh, hush, that's not true. You're literally the host. We are here for you.
Yes, you made this happen. You made this happen.
But okay, I can go. Hello, I'm Hel, your sugar, spice, and everything nerdy narrator. I started my, I guess, book talk journey as of, oof, more than a year and a half ago now. And I started with the spicy stuff, moved over to narration, loved it because I love reading books. And I've had the pleasure of starting off with a dark fantasy series, which is wonderful. I love dark fantasy. I have some romances that are out and coming out, including a dark romance coming out later this year, a historical romance called Desire and the Devil by Andrea Janelle. I have more things in the works, such as book three of the dark fantasy, potentially a horror novella. Oh, I need to remember in this app. I need to say really pronounce horror. I'm saying horror, not not another word that could be misconstrued as that. Don't banana us, please. TikTok. Um, but yeah, so I have things in the works, been in some audio dramas, including one that was a ton of fun called World Spark by Audio Mazes, where it's a pick your path immersive audiobook experience where your choices throughout the book gives you different outcomes to the ending of the story. And that's by Audio Mazes, and it's a very like indie if you like Indiana Jones kind of Tomb Raiders style. That might be up your alley. Hey, Bambi.
That
But
sounds
that's
fantastic.
it's a ton of fun. I had a ton of fun doing it with Zach, who's in the comments right now too.
I recently got an offer to do a sort of choose your own adventure type thing for a publisher. I don't know if I'm going to take it or not. We'll see, but mostly it's not because I'm opposed to it. I think it's a great idea. It's just that I'm not familiar with them all that much.
Ah, we're not talking about the same company, are we?
I don't think so, but maybe.
Okay. Audio Mazes is the one that I worked with, and every experience I've had with them so far has been fantastic.
hmm I don't think that's who it is, but maybe I'd have to look back on Instagram and take a look. But as of thus far, I don't think I'm gonna get involved with it, just because
Sure.
I'm not familiar with the format and the. I mean, it's a cool idea, and those people who enjoy it. But
hmm
I don't know. I'm at a loss for it for now.
It does seem like a completely different beast.
Yeah, yeah. But I've got my hands full as it is anyway. Redacted
Yeah.
tales, my own books, my own crap. I'm busy.
Speaking of, tell us about yourself, Clarence.
Oh God. All right. I am Clarence Carter. I am the author of A Girl Named Mishka, Without Saying Goodbye, Damn Ernie, a few short story collections, The Rejected Ones, The Diamond Highway, and Shadows and Keyholes, and some other stuff. I don't know. At this point, it's too much. I'm also your host for Redacted Tales, and I have a pretty big update that I haven't said anywhere on TikTok yet. I did mention it on Facebook a couple days ago, but I am shooting an indie horror film as of next month.
Ooh.
I think we're going to start at the end of next month.
That's exciting.
That is so exciting. What's it going to be about?
Thank you. So, I do have a little bit of experience at this. I was a script supervisor for an indie horror film last year, and I helped, officiate the script and try to help there. But I wrote a short story in one of my collections. The short story was called Cathedral, and it was sort of about a man who's a widower, and he remarried, but he's like very broken and sort of an alcoholic, and he really misses his original wife. And he buys this cathedral radio, and the radio starts to talk to him, and he believes that it's his former wife reaching through the radio, to talk to him. Well, it turns out not to be her, etc., etc. And we are going to film that. That's where we're at.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Because I was like, sometimes my head lives too much in the dark romance space. So I'm like, oh, is it her? Is it going to be fun times ahead? But no, this sounds like pure horror. It's not her. And it's going to be real spooky.
Yeah. So I wrote the script. We're sort of still hammering out because I'm not a great screenwriter. I'm still really new at it, but we're hammering out the details, trying to smooth it out so that we'll be able to film it. And we have a director who's a friend of mine. This is his first like indie horror film, but he has done like other video stuff, music videos, stuff like that. And then we have a very small crew, and we're still working on the cast. We have one person cast so far who's going to play one of the voices that comes through the radio.
Ooh, fun.
It sounds
when is
so good.
Do you have like a timeline of when you want this is going to be out by?
I don't know how long it's going to take us to film it, so I'm not sure, but I'm guessing probably the fall of this year.
Okay. That's exciting. Wow.
It's going to be a short film. It's probably not going to be even an hour long. We're guessing it's probably going to be like 35 to 45 minutes. But we're all excited. We're all nervous. There's a lot to do. I still have a lot to learn, unfortunately, but we're all optimistic. But anyway, enough about me. I'm here to talk about you guys and your incredible talents. And I don't even know where to begin, to be honest with you, though. Hal, where did you get into? Well, you kind of explained where you got into narration, but take us back to your first project, how you got involved. I'm really curious about that. Well, did I lose my signal? Oh.
I hear you. You're
I'm
here.
so sorry. That's me. I started talking and didn't realize I was on mute the entire time. Um, the good old mute function. So it's my little. I think of it as my meet cute little love story because I remembered joining TikTok and being like, oh, I really want to get into narration. I'm gonna start, looking around authors and books and meeting other narrators and getting things under my belt, putting my voice out there and all those things. And I remember seeing this cover for Corrupted Tides, and it's like this really badass looking FMC in the front cover. She looks strong with like abs. I'm like, oh my gosh, she looks so cool. And I remember thinking when I saw that cover, one day I'm going to narrate a book as cool as that. I remember thinking that. And then that was like earlier in I want to say like September, October, November. I don't remember exactly, but that's kind of when I started. Around late December, the author, SM Campbell, reached out and said, hey, I just put my book up for audition on ACX. Would you be willing to audition for it? And I'm like, what the I never spoke to this person before, and I'm like, and I looked up the book. I was like, oh my god, this is the book. This is the book. And so of course I auditioned for it. And I didn't realize that he's been kind of, social media stalking me too and liked my performance. And so it worked out, and the book that I said it worked out, and the book that I said that I do actually narrate. And so far, I'm working on the third book of his series. So it's been, my little meet cute love story, book talk love story.
That is fantastic. If only it worked that way for everybody, right?
I know, right? I feel so fortunate, and he's been just absolutely amazing to work with. So he gets to have all of my fishy, silly memes.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really exciting. What else did I want to ask? As far as like, that sounds like you're really excited and really proud of those. Is there anything else that really stands out to you as far as like proud moments in your career?
Oh boy. Oh boy. I don't know if proud would be the word I used, but it is absolutely one of those things where I feel absolutely grateful for the people that I've met along the way. You, Shae, Celtic, I see in the comments, hi. And all of the narrator friends, all the author friends that I've made, because I feel so fortunate that I have the luxury of meeting and working with these amazing talents. This is going to sound kind of braggy, but it is what it is. I'm just going to own up to it. So I don't do narration full time. So unfortunately, I don't do narration full time. If I could, I would, because I absolutely love doing it. But I don't do narration full time. So my time with doing books is fairly limited, or just doing any project is fairly limited. I'm limited to after work, after the kid goes to bed. It's a bit quieter. And as some of you know, Zach is my partner. And so we share the one booth that we have. We have a schedule and all of those things. I have been so fortunate that this community has been nothing but supportive and uplifting for me, that I haven't really had to go out and do a ton of auditions. I've had the luxury of having some authors just kind of come to me, we talk it out, work it through together, and then just kind of build a contract from there. And it's just been absolutely amazing. So very, very braggy.
Zach's fantastic.
I'll step down.
By the way.
Zach is, oh my gosh, Zach almost made me not go into VA, because we did a VA class together, and this guy has an incredible range, as you've heard, Clarence, because he's done your book, Mr. Thorpe's Bell, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he has immense range. And when I was like sitting next to him in class and I get to hear him do all these things, I'm like, well, screw this. I can't compete against that.
Yeah.
But yes, but I don't let
Also,
things stop me.
he was on this show too.
Yeah? When?
He had a very
Did
he had
you?
a very a brief story in the last episode. He did a Danielle Muthing story, Used Car, and
Oh, for Redacted Tales. Yes.
yeah, for Redacted Tales, yeah. And if the story had been longer, I probably would have like had them both on and did the interview. But the story was like 6 minutes long or something, so I didn't interview them for it. Maybe I should have, but I definitely plan on having them both back on at some point. That would be fantastic. I love what he did with Mr. Thorpe's Bell.
And that was with
Just
Jasmine Wallace, right?
correct. He did the second story for that. He did Danielle Muthing's story. The first story was Jasmine Wallace and Jen Bernardini. It was called
Got it.
Carnival.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, no, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It just
So I took
what you're doing here is amazing. It's just been so much fun to listen to.
the two shortest stories because neither of them were really gonna fit on their own, and I just kind of did a double episode. I called it double feature.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you. And now I'm going to move on to Shae for a little while. I got some questions. I feel like I've had a lot of these answered before because Shae and I have done so many lives together at this
Oh my
point.
gosh, yes.
I've been on your show. I'm probably like one of the top 3 people that's been on there.
Yeah, for
The most.
definitely. You
Definitely
and
not one of the
Danielle.
top. I'm definitely not one of the top 3 best guests,
Oh,
but I'm one of the top 3 most
yes,
frequent.
yes, you are. You're always a good time. I think you and Danielle Muthing are the top 2 guests that we have reoccurring, I would say, at this point.
Yeah, we've been on quite a bit. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about your book. Well, technically your second book. It's the only one that I've read thus far, but Cue the Trumpets was a fun and interesting read. And I wanted to talk about, like, do you remember where the idea came from at all?
So it kind of runs off of my first book, 17 Lifetimes. So the universe
Mm-hmm.
itself is where the concept came from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And then, I really played off of, so the universe as in like the traveling through the ocean, and it's like a dimensional travel when you go through the ocean type thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. So that came with the first book, but with this initial story with Conrad Ashcraft and his depression, it stemmed
Mm-hmm.
from I wanted to create a planet that I knew was going to be a prison planet. So my mom has worked in the prison system since I was like 13 years old. And so I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot about correctional facilities and how they operate and how the, inmates inside operate as well. So I wanted to incorporate that, but then with the depression, depression, you're basically in a prison of your own mind. And so to do that, I incorporated the souls of people who have unalived themselves and lost themselves to depression to become a part of this prison planet. So that all kind of tied in with just the influence of my mom growing up and just knowing so much about corrections and having a love for true crime and horror all at the same time and horror all at the same time. Yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. It just all kind of fell together, honestly, because it is a series, so it just kind of builds off
Mm-hmm.
itself.
No, you did answer the question. So there are like a lot of different angles that kind of fall into place. That's happened with me before. So actually, we were just talking about it earlier. I had this story that I called Mr. Thorpe's Bell, and there were like these, I don't know, 6 or 7 different pieces that all kind of fell into place, and I was like, oh, this is what I've been looking for, and it was like magic. Anyway, what you do is fantastic. What you do with Clint is great. Your book was a lot of fun. I want to talk about this story. So this story thus far is the longest piece that we've had on the show. It's I knocked over a cup. It's sitting at about almost an hour, and the fact that you did it in 3 pieces was really different, and I really liked it because you're sort of following the eclipse in its different varying stages, and you're also taking some of these classic monsters and you're having a lot of fun with them. And just tell us a little bit about it.
It was inspired. I wrote this short story idea down when the eclipse happened in April of last year. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what more inspiration do you need than to actually, it was such a cool event. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it was really cool. And just looking at that and thinking of phases and phases of life and shifting. And even then I had the idea of, something to do with monsters, supernatural. The werewolves in the school it was a reoccurring nightmare of mine as a child. So I always wanted to do a short story with that. And often in my short story folder, even with like my book Sour Now, that came from two separate short story ideas, and I'll end up combining them. So with the eclipse, I combined my childhood nightmare with the werewolves. And the last time I had that nightmare was probably in my early 20s. I'm 31 now. So that was a dream that I had a lot. And that's where that came from, just as the teachers turning into werewolves and chasing kids through the hallway. That's basically what the nightmare itself was. And then you go over to the nursing home where the residents are turning into zombies. And that's, during the next phase of the eclipse. And I love zombies. I'm just a horror fan, and zombies like The Walking Dead and The Last of Us, anything zombies. I've always just books. I love zombie books. The Forest of Teeth and Nails, I think is what it's called. Forest of Teeth and Nails. That was a zombie book I read way early on in high school and super loved. And so I wanted to do something with zombies, and I actually interned as a social work in a nursing home. And I had written down a short story idea with zombies and that a long time ago. So that came back from way deep files of stuff. So I wanted to combine that with the eclipse. And then you transform, with when you get to the totality, when the moon is fully covering the sun, and that is your prison environment, again influenced by my mom. I just think that a prison is always a fun setting to work with, as I did with Cue the Trumpets. It was just something fun. And then I'm also a vampire geek. I love Twilight. I'm just always been a Twilight fangirly deep down to the core, just because I read the books as they came out, and that was just like a huge thing for me in high school. And so I wanted to tie those things together, and that's basically where it came from, a bunch of different short story ideas and came together as one.
Were you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Team Edward forever.
Oh, okay. All right. Hal, any input on that? Team Edward, Team Jacob?
Oh, I did not follow the Twilight series, but I mean, I did watch the first and very last movie. Does that help?
Those are the best.
I skipped everything in between.
That's okay, because those are the two most important, so that's all you needed.
I'll probably pick Jacob, sure.
Yeah. My wife is a fan, and I've never read the books, but I did see the movies. I gotta be Team Jacob, if we're being honest.
It's okay, guys, because I don't share anyway, so this is fine.
Perfect then.
That's fine. Anyway,
I loved the progression of the stories. I love that it was three different beasts too, and then the final part, kind of from the I didn't know if it was like a radio or like a news channel, but some sort of thing to kind of tie it all together, that this is happening everywhere, and it's just this one horrible stricken day due to the eclipse. It was so riveting, and I loved the terror that you imbued in all of these characters, the confusion, and I still remember the one line at the vampire, when the prison guards, where he's just like, "We weren't trained for this." I'm like, "Yeah, I bet you weren't." No one's trained for a ginormous vampire attack.
Oh my gosh, I loved your newscast voice. Hell, it was, and then your teacher and your kids in the beginning. Those are my favorites. Your teacher voice is absolutely perfect.
I was channeling Zach's aunt, actually.
You did so good, and the
Thank you.
kids too with the missing teeth. Like you nailed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I think you did perfect. I think it is exactly what we were looking for. Um, these pairings for me are kind of interesting because there there are like some stories where the voices will just come to me. I'll be reading the story like I did with Shae's, and I'll think of all the various narrators that I know. And unfortunately for me, I couldn't nail the first one, but I'm glad that it worked out the way that it did because I think it came out fantastic. Um, I originally reached out to somebody else, and she and I just couldn't make the timeline work. We tried, but
Mm.
you knocked it out of the ballpark. So happy
Oh,
accident.
thank you. And how, I mean, say
And
more about that. What is your thought process for pairing the authors and narrators?
oh, that is an interesting question. So as I just have this like memory of how people sound, I guess, and uh, every author, as you already know from having narrated, they have their own sort of cadence, their own sort of pace, their own sort of vocal. I don't know how to explain it, but their authors have their own voices. So as I'm going through a story, I'm reading it for entertainment because I'm greedy and selfish, and I do that with all of the stories. During most of the read, I'm like, oh, this is really good, and then towards the end of the story, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta find somebody to narrate this thing. Um, but as I'm going, I'm thinking, could it work for this person? Could it work for this person? Could it work for? And eventually, their voices kind of come through my head, and I can kind of read with their voice in my head. And
Ah,
it doesn't happen right away usually, but I'm glad that it does usually happen.
so you let the work speak to you.
Yeah. Yep. I sort of find the narrator through the story eventually after I stop reading it greedily.
That's cool. So, I mean, just out of curiosity, now since you've had some stories under your belt with Redacted Tales,
Mhm.
do the authors like make requests too as well, or like how does this know? It's just like the authors hand a story, and you're like, I am the Redacted Tale God, and I shall imbue your story with a voice.
I'm not opposed to them suggesting narrators. It's just right now I'm kind of working off of my knowledge of who I know in the narrating
Mm,
community.
mm-hmm,
So if they were to request somebody outside of I'd try. I would certainly try to
mm-hmm.
get them, but thus far I'm just using my circle, and I'm hoping that the circle will continue to expand, and we will continue to grow this thing together because
Mm-hmm.
everything you do here matters.
Absolutely. And I'm always a number of myself and another narrator friends would be happy to recommend more narrators and send them your way too.
Awesome. I like it. My DMs are always open. I'm also trying to. I have to like open up the submissions again because I'm running out of stories again. I think I have
Ooh.
4 left or something like that, and that we're burning through them because we're doing 2 episodes a month.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's slowly growing, but it's time consuming and kind of stressful at times. But I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
And
Uh,
sorry to keep putting you on the spot, but I am kind of curious. What started Redacted Tales? What is your vision for this?
so I still do, but we're not as active. Did a podcast similar to this called 8 Spark Stories, and we would do narrative. I would usually write, or my friend Sean would write, and then we would hire narrators. But the problem that we were having was that we were doing all of the writing, and we could not keep up with the demand in the whatever. So I was trying to open it up to the public, is essentially what ended up happening. And I thought that 8 Spark Stories was a little too broad and kind of confusing. and I've always really liked aliens and cryptids and weird stuff, X-Files, So I thought, hey, why don't I do my own project, kind of narrow it down, and do like a government cover up kind of thing, and then utilize the narrators and authors that I know, and then I'll periodically put my own stories in as I go. But a lot of the pressure is off me, basically.
Okay. So when you open up your forums, I can shoot it to a bunch of other horror authors that I know and make your life a little bit
Absolutely.
easier.
That would be fantastic. I really like the theme that we're going with, this sort of X Files esque, sort of like forbidden, redacted type. I think all of the stories thus far fit pretty well. Um, yeah, thanks for being here. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was gonna ask Shae about Sour, because I'm gonna be wrapping up here shortly. I don't want to keep you guys all day because I could ramble forever.
Oh, I could too. We could all ramble.
Yeah, yeah,
What
I
about
could be
sour?
pretty long-winded when I want to be.
What do you want to know about sour? There's a lot with sour, so
There
anything
is a lot to
specific?
unpack there.
Yes.
Um, so we know that it's about a child of a serial killer, and they're on a lemon tree farm, which, by the way, is a fantastic setting for a novel. I probably
Mhm.
never would have gotten there. I probably
My
never would have thought of it,
I
but
have a love. I actually love lemons. That's not even a front. I eat them when I was pregnant. That's all I craved. I might have shared that before with you. And my grandpa loves lemons, and my grandma's favorite color is yellow, so it's kind of like our thing.
mhm.
So that's yeah, that's where the lemon tree farm. And actually, that was a thing in my notes for my short story folder that I wanted to write a story about serial killers who were burying bodies on the lemon tree farm to like and it's like once you put a body in the ground, the smell is covered, but it's still just like the lemon trees cover the smell of the bodies, even though it's already like obviously that's you know. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where that started. And then I wanted to write about a an adult woman, young, with childhood trauma. Was a social worker, so I've sat in many group settings with kids that needed help, and they've been through some really terrible things. And I wanted to kind of shine a light on because I know somebody personally in my life that's been through something really bad, and they
Mhm.
actually turned out more productive than their siblings. It was a big family, and one of the siblings just kind of took the trauma in a different way and did better by themselves. So I wanted to pick a main character, female, that had been through something so awful as to watching your parents unalive people in front of you since you were a very young age, which is kind of kind of unheard of, but also probably one of the worst things you can imagine outside of other terrible things. And I wanted her to be resilient and learn how to love through love. So that's where the romantic part comes in, the romance of the story. I wanted to
Mhm.
really show that love can be real even if you weren't growing up in it. I know that was just terribly drawn out and awful. My brain is so not sharp today, but
That's okay. Um, you're doing just fine. I love the concept. Do we have a release date yet?
no, just August. As of now, my book's going through an editor, Tanya Celtic here, and
Mhm.
we're working on that. The Kickstarter just finished, so I was able to get more funds to push out the rest of that book to her. I just have to kind of go over the chapters and edit them myself before I send them out to make sure I'm not missing anything that I wanted to add in. So it's just the process of like getting it done and knowing. I know that
Mhm.
it's going to be done in July and I'll be able to send out early release copies, hopefully before that August due date. That's the plan, right? So about a week or two before. So early release copies will be out by the first week of August minimum, and then after that, hopefully we'll have a good date picked. I'll get a better idea about the end of next month, what's going on.
perfect.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're all excited.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's going to be about a 700-page book, so it's a standalone, and she's chunky. I'm about to release an audio clip here soon. Probably right after I get off here. Honestly, I was going to release it today. I've been working hard on it all day. My lovely, I got a Danielle Muthing, Scott Wolonsky. I can never pronounce his last name. Scott, we know Scott.
Yeah.
And KJ is they all did a little snippet for me, and they knocked it out of the park. They really, really, truly did.
That's amazing. Amazing talent too.
Yes, they're all. I mean, it's unreal. What they just did with this is, I can't wait for you all to hear it. It's super, super good. And yeah, all the voice actors are just, Hel's done a snippet for me for 17, and I really want to get her and Zach another cue the trumpets. When you don't have a book that's been edited and then you get a book that's been edited professionally, you just feel so different about the books that you don't have edited, and I just want to get them edited so bad, and make them what they deserve to be as well, So, but yeah, you guys are awesome doing these snippets for us, and I know it helps you guys with exposure too, but just to hear your story out loud for the first time, there is no other feeling. Hear your story out loud for the first time, there is no other feeling than that. I can't imagine just other than seeing it as a movie on the TV. is the next best, like, whoa, that's crazy, because it really just brings it to life. And yeah, you guys are so appreciated.
Thank you. And yeah, like you said, it's a beautiful partnership, because quite selfishly, I like books. I want to read all the books, and I know I can't, so at least I get snippets.
Yes, I know it is. And once you meet so many friends, I mean, I have a pile. I mean, Clarence's, I haven't been reading a lot lately, and Clarence's is next on my TBR, and it's just my TBR's been a pause for so long because been working on writing. When we all work on our own projects, it's hard to find time.
Ain't that the truth? Out of all those people that you listed, I'm so glad that one of those names wasn't Connor Lewis, because he's a bum. I just had to do that.
He's grown on me after he was mean to me. Connor has a special place in my heart, because he's, I think, the first British dude that I asked for real British feedback on, and he's like, "You want the real answer?" I was like, "Yes, give me the real answer." And it's like, "It's shit." And he didn't use those words specifically, but you know what? It helped me get better.
That's good. So this is the part of the show where I would open it up to the audience if they have any questions. If you guys have any questions for me or each other, now would be the ideal time for that. And we'll give that a few minutes, and then we'll probably wrap it up.
No, you weren't that harsh.
Connor says he wasn't that
You were honest, and I so appreciate it.
Connor's great. I just talk crap to him because it's fun. I've worked a handful of different projects with Connor in the past, and he's great. Annoyingly great, actually. At times I want to strangle him, but...
Annoyingly great.
Yeah. That's the best way to describe it, pretty much. I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions in the comments, but that's all right. If you haven't followed us already, follow everybody. Follow us on YouTube, youtube.com, Redacted Tales. I could use all the follows, all the likes, all the etc., etc. Oh, you got a question for me, huh? Uh-oh, this can't be good.
I've got a question too, if after Connor, if no one else pops in with questions.
When is episode 10 coming? Well, we have to get through 6, 7, and 8, and 9 before we can get to 10. But, soon. I know what I promised him and his partner, Matt, episode 10. It's called Arachne, and They did. I don't know if you guys have heard it yet. They did an episode for me called "Cold Choices" here on Redacted, and I know they're going to do the same thing for my story, Arachne. Yes, we do a podcast on YouTube. It's called Redacted Tales. Oh,
What is
I just
the
got a
best
flag
way
for
people
bullying.
can support? Oh no. Oh no, were we too mean to Connor?
Probably.
Like,
But what's
So,
the best way
as
to
of right
support
now,
Redacted Tales?
we have a Patreon.
Oh!
We have a Patreon. I just set it up recently. You can find it in the link in my bio. Also, the YouTube stuff, if you go through and follow the channel and hit all the likes and share it out, share it out on all your social medias, let it reach further. So maybe YouTube will put me in an algorithm and, But I really want to take this opportunity to talk about, why we do it. So, yes, because we like conspiracies and stuff. That's part of it. But also, what Shae was talking about is so true in that, when you hear your work performed by somebody that's really good, it's pretty much the closest that we can get to, movie deals and stuff at the moment. But it's such a fantastic feeling, and I want all writers to be able to experience that, especially ones that have never experienced it before. But even the ones that have, they deserve to hear it again and feel that feeling again and relive their story through a separate point of view. So that's part of the reason why I got into this. Unfortunately, I'm not really making any money off of it. I'm kind of paying for it all out of pocket, but it is worth it to hear people get excited over their stories again.
Well, hopefully the Patreon will help remedy some of that.
Connor says that it's on Did You Say Something as well. So the episode that he did for us, it was called Cold Choices. It was written by Ben Chan. It came out fantastic. So that's another place that you can check it out if you haven't already. Yeah. Thanks for coming, everybody. Give you guys one last opportunity to say anything you need to say before we wrap it up.
I just want to say thank you, Clarence. This was really cool, and I appreciate it. And, I mean, it wouldn't have happened without you. So, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Clarence. Thank you, Shae, for your words. It was an honor, and it was amazing it was so much fun to be able to narrate this for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad he picked you.
Me too.
Thank you, everybody. I hope to have you both back on in the future. Hopefully we'll have another story and another pairing and another narration and something. Thanks for dropping in, everybody that stopped in. Thanks for your time. June 1st. Keep mark it on your calendars. June 1st.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.